Okay, well, welcome everyone to this course on token engineering. My name is Kwame, and I'll be your instructor through this series. And what is token engineering? We're going to go through understanding the foundations of Web3 game economies. So this course is designed specifically for Web2 game developers and Web3 game developers that are wanting to build immersive game economies into their, Web3 games. My name is Kwame Bryan. I am a Web3 game developer. At ChainSafe, I was a co-author of Web3 Unity. My background spans over 20 years in game development, 10 of those teaching at the college level just outside Toronto, Canada. So hopefully through all these different talks, I'll share my experience, the ups and downs, the games that I've worked on in Web3, some of them that have been more successful and some of them that have not, right? So here to share all my experiences. So what is token engineering? Well, if we look at it, it's taking in the understanding of tokens that we're used to in the Web3 sense, like ERC20s. We're going to be specifically talking about the Ethereum ecosystem, uh, game theory, why people do certain things, what are the behaviors behind people's decisions, and just core systems engineering, how these other two can be programmed inside of an actual video game. We're going to delve into crypto economic systems, how we can make these sustainable, how we can keep players engaged. What are some of the incentive mechanisms that allow people to want to, play your game, deem value from this token? Like why do we have this token? Is it used for, in-game purchases? Is it used for, marketplaces? Like, why do we have this? Token engineering also involves modeling. So modeling out like how the token is going to be used over time, right? Is this a deflationary token? Is it an inflationary token? If it is an inflationary token, can we model it out so that the amount of tokens doesn't over exceed the need within the game? So we'll model these behaviors out, these scenarios, we'll perform these simulations, and then of course we will delve into in further lectures with the smart contract development and overall behavior design. So what are some of the core goals of token engineering? Well, obviously is to create a robust token system that allows with the stakeholders incentives. Now, when we talk about stakeholders here, a stakeholder is the game player, right? Why are they playing the game? Why do they hold this token? Why, when they use it, they don't really want to. All these different things. Prevents economic collapse or some exploitative behaviors from the users, right? So we don't want our, stakeholders to come into the system or into the game, mind you, and exploit the actual game, taking out a bunch of, tokens and funds or finding, flaws in the actual game mechanics that might allow for this exploitative or exploitative types of behaviors. Ensure long-term value and utility in our digital ecosystem. So the token that these our stakeholders are obtaining throughout the game, and they're using throughout the game, we want to make sure that there's some long-term value that, you just don't gain a bunch of tokens and then maybe after there's some, specific campaigns that we see our, stakeholders, dumping tokens. So the history of, why we have Web3 games with tokens and how all this came about. Well, we can thank Satoshi Nakamoto for in 2009 introducing us to Bitcoin or decentralized money or money for the internet. And then in 2015, the team at Ethereum gave us a platform that allowed programmability or a Turing complete programming language so that a lot of these ideas that we have in C now could actually be done. And the why we're here for Web3 gaming in 2020 and 2021 was the rise of, DeFi summer. This also brought in GameFi, Axie Infinity, Sandbox, Illuvium, Decentraland, Voxelverse. There's a whole bunch of different games that have basically come out. But now in 2023 and beyond, this has shifted to sustainability within communities and the overall economic design. So the play to earn types of models that we saw in the games of like the 2020 and that series of games has now been taken over by sustainability. Like, why do we have this token? Why are our stakeholders using it? What is the overall economic design around the actual game mechanics and how those things are actually balanced? So I was mentioning earlier about token engineering and then tokenomics. So a lot of us are familiar with the idea of tokenomics, but maybe not so much about token engineering. And to be quite frank, tokenomics is a part of token engineering. And tokenomics isn't token engineering in itself, if that makes sense. So it's a part and not of the whole. So tokenomics really goes around the narrative, right? We have a game. You are a player, you go around, you collect coins. These coins are an ERC20 token. Usually there's some marketing driven behind it. Buy this NFT, download this token, or, get an airdrop. Tokenomics are usually pretty static. They're not dynamic. They're dynamic in the sense of the overall idea of token engineering, but they're very static within themselves. And this is probably one of the major reasons why a lot of Web3 games don't really make it, is because they only have the tokenomics. They don't have the token engineering that encompasses it. So tokenomics also explains what the token does or what meaning the token has. And a lot of the times in Web3 games, from a lot of the ones that I've seen, there is a token, but there is not a real reason for the token. And through this course, we will, define these bottlenecks and design our, economic systems around that. They're easy to write. I have 1 billion tokens, 30% goes to the community, 10% goes to the team, yada, yada, yada. But it's hard to validate, right? Like, yeah, you can divvy up all these tokens, but why do these tokens exist anyway? Why would someone want to keep them for the long haul? And these are the things that tokenomics do not define. Now, on the other hand, token engineering is a simulation, and it's system design driven. How the token, fuels the overall ecosystem itself, how it engages the players, how it has meaning inside of the game. It's an iterative approach. The token engineering evolves after the token goes into circulation and is being used by game players. It kind of has a life of its own. So we base this on a lot of the data about our players, what type of game it may be, what type of behaviors these types of players may have, and we design models to simulate these types of things. It design how it behaves under stress, right? So one thing that tokenomics doesn't define is that, well, what if the token was originally worth 10 cents and now it's worth 5 cents, or there is an inflation of tokens from locking periods. Like how do those particular situations, how do we work around those types of situations? So with all that being said, they're harder to design, but they're easier to test because you have all these, scenarios that you can pinpoint and stress out and see how they behave. So why games need more than just a token? So a token without a design is just a digital token. It has really no meaning to it. It has no like if you're thinking of game theory and this token is a part of the game theory, then what brings the player back? What makes the player want to gain these tokens within the game? So if you take kind of like just a arbitrary type of situation, you are a game player, you are going through, maybe this is some type of RPG game, you are doing mining, you're mining, you get this token, and this token allows you to purchase seeds, which you can plant, you can grow harvests, and from that harvest, you can probably sell that to other players or trade it. So now there's like, okay, well, we have this token, and the value proposition of it is that it allows me to get these other things, which help me survive, which help other people survive. You see, like there's value to it. Where in some other games, if it's just like, say, it's like an endless runner type of game, and you're just running and you're collecting this digital coin, and you have a bunch of these coins, but you can't purchase anything with it. There's no real utility. You can't buy NFTs, so all these things need to be kind of thought out. So games have dynamic player-driven economies. Now, that is easy to say. And whether you're designing a Web2 game or a Web3 game or any type of game, there is usually an economy that is the underlying part of it. And if your game does not have an underlying economy, then it's not going to be really that fun. Players can explore poorly designed systems, right? So, there's always going to be people who are going to want to hack the game or gamify the game. And if we have a poorly designed game where the thought of the token and the release of the token haven't been really thought out, then the exploit level is high. And when we're designing Web3 games where there is a monetary value to this token, this is exponential because there is a lot of incentive for people to exploit a poorly designed system. So as we continue on, we'll look at ways where we can mitigate these. And strong token engineering, it prevents inflation. So an inflationary token game economy lessens the value and the need for the stakeholders, our game players, to want to go out and actually farm this token or do these other things. In-game abuse, of course, and churn, like players just dropping off or they get to a certain stage or there's a certain amount of incentives. And if those incentives are there, the game is not good enough, or the tokenomics, the token engineering, the game design, all of these things together are not good enough to hold the player for longer. So the mission of token engineers in games is to align game design with the game economy's health. So we want games to be fun, right? But in Web3 games, we do know that there's economic incentive. These tokens have value. So we want to be able to balance those two. We want to build fun and fair game economies. So game design and game economies, they're one and the same, but they're designed almost like separately when you are building these models out. Protect communities from predatory game mechanics, right? So we want to design these game economies so that the player is, of course, still having fun and gaining these things in order to, do other things in the game, but we don't want there to be predatory mechanics where, if you don't have X amount of tokens, your player is basically going to die and you need to pay X and X amount of money to do that. Every good game economy in every good game is going to have an ability for players to basically play from nothing and to ramp themselves up. And of course, there's always going to be these, economic incentives that, if you want to, buy, 500 gems, there might be a price to it. But the well-balanced games is that you can do both, and the player and the game developer can both reap the benefits. Encourage long-term engagement through well-designed incentives. This is nothing to be said about the one of the most important things here. If you can design a really well balanced game with a really great game economy, that game will last forever, and people will play the game forever. And this is, really, really hard to do, but it's not outside of the imagination. If you can think it, you can basically do it. So, what is coming up next? We're going to delve into the world of game design, how this meets crypto economics. We're going to explore the different player types, core game loops, and economic roles inside of games, and specifically Web3 games. But we'll be taking a lot of the musings from Web2. Remember, Web2 games are great. Web3 games make Web2 games better. And we're going to start shaping our own Web3 game economy. And that is it for this lecture. Hope you got something out of it. There is going to be a link in the description for you to download some material that will help you, flesh out some ideas and get you prepared for the next lecture. That's it for this one, and I will see you soon. Bye for now.